Evening. That's what this is. It is for me, at least. Depends on where you're at. Depends what time zone you're in. Time zones are confusing sometimes. So, nonetheless, it was definitely like I had to schedule this later because I scheduled this while I was in another state. I was in Kentucky and just drove back today. So I'm all discombobulated after being in caves for a day and also in Nashville and all kinds of fun travel stuff I've been doing. Not exactly business related this time. There was some business on the trip, as there always is. I always, as long as I can get back to the internet, I can keep communicating with people and moving things forward and projects and whatnot. So nothing really stopped, other than it's a lot harder because I don't take my set with me to create any videos. So that's why for the last few days, because I didn't have the foresight to have something ready to publish, there weren't any videos. Doesn't mean I wasn't working, just means I didn't have time to do that aspect of my job. But nonetheless, welcome to Vlog Thursday number 333. And first, I want to start with where I'm going to be, because I'm back, but I'm also leaving again soon. Next week, for a few days, I will be at IT Nation Secure. And some of you may watch this vlog and know where that is or know what that's about. IT Nation Secure is the IT Nation event, specifically the security version of it that's put on by the folks over at ConnectWise. I will be speaking there with my friends Jason Slagle and Matt Lee. This is their secure event, and I'm also going to pretty likely to be at their other event they have later in the year, just called IT Nation. But easy enough to find it. If you look up IT Nation Secure 2023, you'll find all the event information. Hope to see some of you there. It was actually a lot of fun seeing so many of you at MSP GeekCon. That was really cool too. And something I didn't show last time when I was kind of doing a debrief that I got was this cool little coin that they gave me for MSP GeekCon volunteer. It's been really cool, just all the people to pull that off and put that together. If you have a chance to kind of put that on your radar. I don't have a date because the date has not been set for the 2024 edition of that event, but you can always check out MSP GeekCon and or just MSP Geek in general. Great community of IT professionals. So definitely a lot of fun there. One of the things I like to do is answer the questions first. And I think I only have one question someone sent in, but I think it's a good question. Oh, 2 questions. Another one just came in. We'll start with the first question, and then we'll pop over to the second one that just came in. Let me copy that and paste it and bring it over to here where I get to read it in an easier manner. So should have checked. That literally just came in. Perfect timing, person who sent that. Oh, no, it did come on a little bit longer ago. All right. Well, we don't want that. We want this there. All right. The first question is really simple. When someone said, and you can call me out on this as this person did, "Hey, Tom, why do so many businesses not bother implementing DMARC?" It comes down to time and errors that you may get when you start the project. Go, "Hey, I'll set up DMARC for my email," and then something happens, something doesn't work, you get distracted. And because there's not been a detriment, there's not a problem I'm experiencing for not having it done. It's like something I know I should do. This is where it falls off with many businesses. And it's funny that we've probably set it up for way more companies, but we just have not set it up for ourselves. It's and I believe I mentioned it, and this person said that as well, that if you, in my PF Sense video where I talk about getting alerts, I talk about using, I think it's a company called Duo Circle. It's outlined in my PF Sense notifications and alerts video. And yeah, I set up DMARC for that demo, but still haven't set up for my website. So that's pretty much why it doesn't get set up. Like a lot of people, the best of intentions were there. And if there's not something pushing us along, there's always so many things to do. DMARC somehow falls down below that. Let me grab my drink over here. I got my tea. So that's my little short rant about DMARC. And it kind of falls, if anything's out there that's like hanging out, like it's something you should do, but doesn't present an immediate problem for you or a security problem hanging out there. Those are generally the type of tasks that just kind of get relegated to, I'll do that later, and I'll focus on all the other things today. I seen someone ask a question. It says, Your forums be a good place for TrueNAS help or into a weird problem. Kind of depends. I would say you can ask it there. Maybe someone has an answer, but there is also the TrueNAS forums. So I guess it kind of depends on what that question is. I always go in the forums. I am there even when I'm on vacation. Every day I went into my forums and replied to anyone who I could answer. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I suggest people when they have a really weird or overly specific issue. Sometimes the forums of whoever made the software might be a better place to check. Of note, I need to update the rules on my forums because this came up as a discussion that I think all of you can feel free to suggest if you think there's more. But I kind of have a simple 3-step answer for how to do a forum post properly. And I've just not gotten around to updating the documentation or the welcome message, I should say. But there's just 3 simple things that you should do when you post in forums. The first step is tell me what the goal is. Tell me what the error is number 2. And then the third one is give a little bit of context, but leave only enough context that you think someone might need, but don't write me a book. I bring it up like this because it's kind of 1, 2, 3 step of how to do a forum post. People sometimes start with the error message, but I don't know what they're trying to achieve. Other people will, maybe I can defer from the error message what they're trying to achieve, but they also try to give me the entire history of context of them working with computers. Now, I think that's great for engaging conversation when I have time for it, but when you try to reply to lots of forum posts and people have wrote 3 paragraphs, I'm, as many other people are, kind of hard pressed to find the time necessary to read 3 paragraphs to try to figure out, oh, you just have an error with OpenVPN or something like that. So if you can do any forum post, not just my forums, but really anywhere, start with, my goal is to get this working. I'm trying to get Plex working. I'm trying to get a permission problem sorted out. The error message I get that I think is causing the problem is this. It's this system. Here's the OS. Do you need more? Frequently, people who help with support, we don't need much more context. Matter of fact, a lot of times, sometimes with the goal and the error message, I don't necessarily need to have the rest of the context. I can often figure out like what you're trying to do and how to get you around to accomplishing it. So it's that someone I commented on a Reddit post a while back, kind of like that too. I took a little bit of time as I was reading it. And someone was mad because they'd actually posted to my forums, I think, and the Reddit forums. I thought it was funny to see the same post twice, but there was a complaint when people weren't responding. And I'm like, I don't know where to start. I think you want advice on hard drives, but you literally have 4 paragraphs about things that I'm not sure what they have to do with. Like, do you just want to know the best deal on hard drives? I said, yeah. I said, then you could probably make this shorter. uh, all right. So I read the one email, and this is cool. Greetings from Johannesburg. I like that. I love when people, from all over. That's always which fascinates me about connecting with people online. So this is our question someone sent. I won't be able to catch this week's vlog because you're going at 3 a.m. Apparently in Johannesburg time. So someone had a question. Oh, this was an interesting topic. So they had a question last week about using a VPN to connect to internal networks, and they do have a use case. They've considered using a VPN to access company servers while internal LAN as an alternative to 802.1x. So the edge network is untrusted, only authorized devices. Yeah, I mean, I see what they're trying to do. They wrote a decent amount here, so I'm reading through it, so I don't read it all. Never heard of this project. So Project Firezone is a way to do this internally. Let's look it up real quick. Why not? What is WireGuard? We'll share this tab because I'll throw it out there. We're both looking at this for the first time. Fast Secure Access Firezone is an open source remote access platform built on WireGuard. Modern VPN programs 4 to 6 times faster than OpenVPN. Okay, so this is just another. There's a few products like this. What was that? I know someone will be chatting about it in the forums. Is it called NetMaker? Let me pull that one up. I think that's the other one I'm trying to think of. NetMaker's another one. They remind me that connect everything with a WireGuard VPN. It really comes down to managing it. it you part of the problem is it's how you think about authentication. And this is what would someone do if they're on your network? Yeah, or do you work with 8021X and really implement validating that they're on a network? Or do you really say, I don't trust anyone on this network and I validate at each point? So when you hit the web page that controls your line of business application, provided it's web based, is that public facing or do you just lock that down behind a VPN? But being behind a VPN doesn't automatically grant them access, so it just gets them to that thing. Bitwarden's an example. I actually run my Bitwarden infrastructure without it being public facing. I run my Zen Orchestra infrastructure without it being public. But you don't need, if you have Zen Orchestra running, this is what you get. So if you were on my network, you've gotten this far. There's not, at the time of me saying this, any known vulnerabilities in Zen Orchestra. So this is the next authentication method. So even if you were to get on my network, you've bypassed any authentication methods that have kept you off of my network. This is now the next level. So I don't necessarily, unless you're super, super high security worried about it, using VPNs to attach each thing, it's not that it's something you can't do. It's just you're adding a layer of complexity. And is that really the challenge you're trying to solve? So it's just something to consider. I guess it also makes networking, they comment on this, that if you run VPN, so if I VPN to each thing that I'm on, you build an overlay network, for example, to do it, you also now have made a different challenge for any type of anomaly detection inside of the network, because you've now encrypted every bit of traffic for each point. So that can then create a new challenge for you, essentially trying to do that. So just a few more things to consider when you're doing that. Like I said, I don't bother VPNing internally like that. Every page you hit inside my network has its own, if I can pull something up, like even here's my Bitwarden. If you go to my Bitwarden internally, you'd have to know a flaw inside of this or have other credentials to get further. So it's just one of those things. Like I've heard people ask, this is basically the question from last week of, hey, can wouldn't it be a good idea to have a VPN inside the network so no one inside the network could see things? And I don't know. I think each thing in the network shouldn't be using your ability to be on the network as the validation. That's just not the best way to validate. And a lot of systems do that. They offer a lot of trust. And this is kind of where that zero trust definitions, you don't trust based on perimeter. So you don't say, okay, they're outside the network, so I don't trust them. They're inside the network, so I trust them. No, bring it inside the network. Having a VPN is going to reduce your overall threat surface, but you want to have, first they get into the network. That's one layer of authentication. So you peel back one layer. All right, you got this far. Now you have to get further, and further still requires you to log into lots of these other applications. So that's kind of my thoughts on there. And there was a good topic. I was listening to the 2.5 Admins podcast, and let's pull that up real quick if you haven't heard them. But there was a couple things I wanted to mention that they brought up on their podcast because I thought this was really cool. And this is the one right here. Well, I laughed about this. Let me zoom this in to make it easier for people to read. But Windows 11 is so broken, even Microsoft can't fix it. That's a great article title for there for sure. But I wanted to bring up this because I thought this was just really cool. OpenZFS for HP clusters. How to best leverage OpenZFS for your HPC deployment. They mention here, and I didn't really look at it. I listened to the podcast. I just finished it before I jumped here. Let's see. Where did they had the whole size of it in here. It was just amazing how many petabytes of storage. Frontier, the world's first scale. 700 petabyte. There we go. That's the number I was looking for. So 700 petabyte ZFS file systems, impressive, nearly 48,000 hard drives, 5,400 NVMe devices. That's there. And then 480 NVMe for metadata storage. Those are some numbers right there. That's just brilliantly amazing. Like if you want to know how well does ZFS scale, can it handle a larger, data amount of data on there? How many drives can you put on there? So this was kind of cool. It's something I might dive into later, some of the details, but definitely impressive for sure. All right. We'll talk about UniFi here in a second. Let me pull up something else that's interesting though. I'm just kind of laughing about this one. I'll pull it up in just a second. Laughing in a funny way, that there are more vulnerabilities have been found in some more enterprise software. And I pull up the YouTubes. Is it me or did the chat stop? Making sure that something didn't break. All right, cool. So it's working still. The things paused and I wasn't sure if the chat was still going or if anything was on there, but I see it is. Perfect. All right. The Move It file transfer. So this just kind of broke recently in the news. Move It file transfer 0-day mass exploited and data theft attacks. I thought this was kind of interesting because of the message I got. And this is also, if you head over to Reddit, you can find this as well. The people specifically, let's share this tab. My friends over at Huntress Labs are quite on top of this. They are often on top of breaking things. Yeah. I hope you're all still here. That's what I was waiting for something. When I don't see the chat, it usually scrolls a lot more. Nonetheless, what I laughed was, here's all the details of it. And I didn't dive deep into it, but obviously another big corporate enterprise program with vulnerability in it. But one of my friends is tasked with he works in a very large enterprise. And this is the second time among the things he has to support where there's a third-party vulnerability. There's another third-party app that has a vulnerability that has affected their enterprise. He's like, he's like, we're the first one was the other file transfer app, and now it's this one here. I was just kind of laughing, going, yeah, this is rough. And of course, this appears to be, if I'm not mistaken, the one thing I thought was interesting is that it's let me find the Huntress in there, because this I did not read details. I have not talked to the people at Huntress. I will probably talk to them later, but it looks like, if I'm reading this correctly, you can upload and break out of the system, so they don't have proper input sanitization on here, is just my guess, and from looking at it really briefly. So they're digging into it, but I'm just like, yeah, like, first, anything written in, when I see ASPX, I'm like, oh, this is old. I know it might not be old specifically, but just things that are built on that just seem to have more vulnerabilities in them. Yeah, just, I don't know. It'll be something I'll dig into later, but there's plenty of blogs on it. Huntress being easy enough to find, just go to their blog, just one of the latest posts on there. But thought it was interesting. Thought it was, when my friend messaged me, he's like, well, he goes, Huntress is 2 for 2 for having the vulnerabilities that I have to deal with, having good write-ups on them. I was like, oh, you got hit by that too, huh? Yeah, it's funny because the discussion always the same. You didn't develop the software internally because it should have been better by a third party, but these third parties often don't do the best job of vetting their own software or having it properly pen tested. So yeah, that can be a problem. Dumb question. How does Tom split terminal instead single window in Linux? Hopefully someone knows what I'm bringing to. Tmux. Yes. Tmux, and specifically if you want to use the same setup I have, it would be on my GitHub. It's just GitHub/Lawrence Systems. If you go to the .files here, you can have my TMX setup, which actually I should update it because I realize it's been like that for 5 years. But of course, it ain't broke. It kind of works. I like the way it looks. But let's see. I love how people who don't want to pay for software but say they're not good at updating software. Yeah. All right. Sometimes some spam comes in. You just gotta block it real quick. I haven't. I feel like I haven't had a spammer on here in a long time. That's interesting. Um. All right. Back to more interesting things. Well, we'll get to the UniFi stuff in a moment here, but the Zen Orchestra. There's a couple things we can talk about there. So yeah, feel free to ban them, Travis. I think you have permission to do so. If not, we'll sort that out later. Um, they released, I think I mentioned this before. They got the whole thing done in terms of what is your basis for how you design. You come up with essentially like a template, and they've got that release. So we're getting closer now that they have all the colors picked out, light mode and dark mode. And these are things like you think dark mode is just like, hey, the opposite of light mode, right? Not exactly. You need all the different colors to pair up in a certain way. And so they've done all this design work, designing the elements, deciding on a standard by which you're going to follow. And all this is important because we're going to get a much better looking version of Zen 6. So they have in some of these screenshots, by the way, Exo Light has some of this design already. So Exolite's coming along. That's going to be the built-in version for Zen Orchestra, and it's actually come a lot further. Maybe I'll do an updated video about how that works. It's easy to set up. It's completely like alpha right now as a downside. Maybe when it hits beta, I'll actually do a video on it. But they're going to update the new version 6 of Zen Orchestra to look like that as well. So you're going to have these different treed menus. It's going to be a little bit more modern design. But these are some, sneak previews of what these dashboard elements are going to look like. So I think this is really cool. Like they're doing some really neat stuff here. And of course, here's what it looks like in dark mode, which, hey, definitely cool for sure. But yeah, I'm excited about following along over the last just couple years of development on Zen Orchestra has been pretty amazing. So they're definitely just coming right along, and the new UI I think is going to be welcome. I don't hate the old UI. I know some people are like a little skeptical about it, but I think it's actually pretty cool. It's extremely serviceable when you have large volumes of virtual machines. Firewall thoughts: ingress or egress rule filterings. I mean, firewalls by default, your average firewall is going to block things in terms of ingress, but of egress filtering, most things are going over 443. I don't you can do it if you need to. I don't know that you'll find some things will break. So you just got to figure out what's on your network and then start mapping it. I don't know how beneficial it is. One of the things I recommend to people if they, want to follow up on security and things like that is go through different reports, look at how hacks happened, and deal with what focus on first dealing with what the real world gets hit with. And if you look at a different report and you go, hey, the gap that lets someone in, the gap that would have been closed if we did this, if that was egress filtering, then cool, we know it's something probably important to do. I will tell you though, that is rarely the case that egress filtering would have stopped these attacks. Pretty much all of them go in and out over 443. So egress filtering is just less effective than it used to be. Thoughts on Proxmox or other hypervisors with a consumer grade SSD? Proxmox or XCPNG, either one of them work fine with consumer SSDs. They work as good as the consumer SSD works. I don't really think there's a problem with them. He had block 443 outbound. That'll make it fun. Uh, they are working on the VTPM. That'll come out in the 8.4 version. I think that's when that'll all be ready. They are working on it. What software do you do VMs on? I do all my stuff in Zen Orchestra. That's my preference. So right now I'm on, this is my community version edition. Actually pulls, oh, I got some updates to load and patches. But yeah, this is all my Zen Orchestra system. This is where I run all my, it's my preference. So is to run Zen Orchestra. I'm running the latest version. I did update Zen. There's some new features they added, and one of them is creating mirrors of your backup. This is kind of a neat feature. I'm gonna have to explore this a little bit here, but they also did a really nice job. And let me pull this up. Something I want to highlight: their latest Zen Orchestra. They did a nice graphic here that I think kind of explained the backups really well. So share this tab instead, and they've been a lot. There's so much fine tuning they're doing in the backups. I think that's been really cool. So it's definitely been greatly improved. Uh, VMware is shedding users fast. The support has not been as good, and we're seeing a lot of people migrating off of VMware over to the other worlds and things like that, especially the XCP-NG. Do you usually deploy Suricata for your customers? No, if the customer needs fully managed IDS system, we would sell them as such. You can't manage Suricata across a lot of clients easily, like on a PF so you just sell other solutions if that's needed. Do you recommend VMs over LXD containers? Pros and cons. Security can be the con when you're having everything under one shared resource, like an LXD container, and you have everything in there. That can be a problem, but it kind of depends on each situation. I like everything as a separate VM because it's, can be very clean for how you're handling it, but that's not the best use of all your resources. So if you have a lot of VMs that are each running their own operating system, that becomes very heavy on the system. Maybe you don't have the hardware to support that. And that's why containers exist, is to say, hey, we have these group of similar services that need to talk to each other. We want to be able to spin them up and down in a lightweight manner. So it's not like there's an answer for it's all this or all that. It comes down to the projects you're building. When you build XOA from sources, can be manually updated or CLI, or does it need to be recompiled and do the updates? The V6. You just go back in and the video I have on that topic, which maybe I'll do a new one, because apparently I get a lot of comments going, is this still relevant? Well, yes, it's still the same software. I mean, when you pull it, it pulls the latest version. So the version in that video is old, but as long as you type in git pull, it'll grab the new version. So as you go through and pull these and use that Zen Orchestra installer, it always grabs the latest version, and each time it recompiles it. Now there is an update option. So if you go in there, you run the update and it will update and recompile again. So yeah, you just go in there from the command line and rebuild it each time. Greetings, your take on MeekerTick firewalls. Basically, my problem with MeekerTick firewalls is bad documentation is problem one. Everyone complains about it. Like, Tom, do a bunch of MeekerTick videos. I'm like, they're inexpensive, but their documentation is not always that great, and they're just kind of quirky. The quirkiness can be solved, and I've seen someone post in my forums. I've kind of quoted it a couple times. I think it's my forums. Maker takes that, that weird little cheap device that if you can find the right secret incantation that you copy and paste on the forums, it'll work, but no one will tell you why you have to type that thing to make the thing work the way you want. So it saves you a few dollars, and if you're willing to put the time in it, I think the people who know them really well really swear by them. They go, oh, it's really great. Once you figure out that you can't just do this, you have to do these other quirky things with it, they can build a good network. But that being said, do you have the time to learn it? I'm planning a gaming business, pondering how to deploy various servers for local hosting. Like I said, it comes down to the use cases you have. Can you do the networking well in that? Can you have enough networking? Do you need these in separate VMs? There's a lot that goes into it. You just got to really sit down and think about the architecture of how you're building it and how you want to build that out. Um, do you plan on doing more videos on security cameras, VMS platforms? I only use Synology for the most part, so I don't really have time to check all the other NVRs. I don't, and also, the way I do my reviews is my business. My business, we deploy, but I don't say it like, in a Mr. B style sensational, like, hey, I bought $30,000 of a thing. I'm saying we deployed those $30,000 worth of cameras over a couple years, and I can give you the feedback from those particular brands of cameras we deployed. I wouldn't be able to do and don't really want to sell to my customers a weird NVR system and one off it. So my experience comes from, for example, tons of the Synologies we deploy a lot. Now we consult on a lot more than even we deployed. So you expand that out. We're experienced with it. We've been doing it for a number of years. And it's kind of cool to have a customer that we deployed one to several years ago call us back going, hey, we want to change things or update this. And the systems work so good, we want to expand it. So I can give you good feedback from very real world experiences deploying these out at businesses with Synology. I wouldn't be able to be that in depth with the other platforms. Someone was messaging me the other day saying, well, I'm looking for the cheapest platform possible. I'm like, you're not going to get a good quality. Jeff Geerling just did a video talking about like the Hikvision and how it needed some weird plug-in to make it work. I don't know what model it was, but I don't trust a lot of those other NVRs. Synology has a good reputation to put behind them. So I think the Synology MVRs is a really good choice, but I just don't have time to really dive in and actually do what I would consider a thorough test of the other devices. Yeah, this is why you need to make a Maker take video to give us documentation. Yeah, isn't that the challenge? Oh, let's see. Yes, the hookups actually got some good videos on there as well. Let's see. I switched from Synology to a virtualized Blue Iris instance. Yes, Windows, but I save money and I have AI that doesn't depend on using expensive cameras. And there's more than one solution. Blue Iris seems to be really popular amongst the home lab people. I don't have a problem with it. I wouldn't want to support it commercially. Anytime I've looked at it, I found it to be kind of cumbersome and runs on Windows, but it works for the people that use it. So have you used it? I consider the X Mini is better than the Synologies. I have a video to compare the two together, whether you're talking about TrueNAS or Synology. I have a video that breaks those down. There's not just an answer of yes or no, which one's better. It's about what your use case is. And then if you go in my forums, I've got a whole chart detailing out what's supported on Synology and what's supported on TrueNAS. So speaking of Synology, do you think a DS920 can run VM very well? Seems like a 2-core CPU just wouldn't do the job. I would go with a 2-core CPU is not going to do the job, depending on exactly what that job is. You can run quite a bit of things on. I have my little TrueNAS box, one of them that runs several jails and FreeBSD with only a couple cores. they run what I need to run. I don't know that 2 cores will run what you needed to run. UniFi Protect is good, just hard to get equipment. Supply chains are kind of catching up, but yeah. So you've tried supporting some incident of Blue Iris out in the wild. I wouldn't want to do that again. Yeah. Use Synology, dated and laggy. Blue Iris system slick for combine here's no creation into one. Yeah, I haven't looked at Blue Iris in a long time, so I don't really know what I don't know what the version looks like. It's been a minute since I looked at it. I can tell you what the latest version of the Synology looks like, because that's this here. I mean, I don't know. This is modern enough to me. Oh, look, I got spiders. This looks modern enough to me, but maybe not to you. And expensive is a relative term, because I don't find this camera too expensive with the AI functions in it, but that's what it comes down. I got a spider here too. That's what this, I know this is a spider because it's been driving me nuts. Whoops. I didn't have that pulled up. So spider, yeah, look at it. See, it's moving. Spiders and the spiders on this camera. Guess what Tom's doing today? I just got back. They made little spider things on my cameras while I was out of town. But like I said, I think that I don't find it laggy at all. This is not a particularly high-end Synology. I find it pretty snappy. But if you put too many cameras on them, or you figure out what the max amount of cameras are, and you put the absolute max amount of camera and crank the resolution up, you're going to get a slightly laggy experience on these. So that's just kind of what it comes down to. But yeah, I click on it. This has got spinning drives in it, by the way, just a pair of them. It plays quite fast. We build a lot of these systems, and like I said, I'm pretty happy with them. Wishing the UniFi would come out with a cheap pan tilt camera. Yeah. Synology is a per camera license, but it's perpetual for one. So when you buy the license, it doesn't expire. Or if you buy the Synology cameras, they don't require a license. So it's kind of like, yes, there's a license unless, and they give you a couple for free. So I wish Synology was more customizable and choosing a bigger CPU, like 8 or 16 core. Typically wouldn't be a bug thing for normal NAS, but their DSM is nice. Yeah. Have you heard anything about Docker going away in TrueNAS scale? There are whispers, but I don't know who's whispering that to you, because why would they get rid of it? I don't understand. So I don't know where you heard a whisper. It's it's the Mark Twain quote of, it's easier to fool someone than convince them they were fooled. This is one of those weird things. The number of people that think TrueNAS scale costs money, that's a really common. I don't know where the bad truth came from. Like, it's not published on their site. It's never been said by me that TrueNAS scale costs money. But man, over the last week, there's been like 5 or 6 people commenting about TrueNAS scale costing money. And I'm like, it doesn't. So I don't know where some of these weird rumors come from, but they don't seem to be very well founded. So it just kind of confirm, like, talk to the sources, like the developers. So and if it's not coming from developers, why would you give credence to someone in a random whispered forum? Oh, I think they're getting rid of it. I don't understand. Like, how does that person carry weight? So that's, I don't know. Dream Machine the UniFi platform, not just a Dream Machine, a UniFi platform does not support non-UniFi cameras. Reddit. Oh, yeah. Reddit's definitely a wonderful place full of information, but not all of it's accurate. Confirm. There's a reason. Like if you look at Reddit, and we'll switch this tab real quick. One of the reasons I don't post because I don't like this. If I'm posting under a different account in an anonymous way, that's fine because I'm having an anonymous or pseudo anonymous discussion or whatever because it's my personal interest Reddit. But I try to be very, concise and clear that this is me as a company. You can follow who I actually am. So if I say something on here, you can ensure it was said by Lawrence Systems. That's one reason I use my real, well, what my handle is, at least for my social media posts of Lawrence Systems. So you be careful if it's some, name random group of numbers person making claims. Lots of people like to make claims just to make claims, to get some attention, to tell you that Docker's going away inside of TrueNAS, which I don't think is true in any way. Um, I don't know if they've improved. So have the Docker, uh, I'm sorry, have the doorbell cameras situation improved at all? UniFi is just, UniFi. I like to have something on Synology. I don't know. I don't use a doorbell cam, so I'm not the most up to date person on those. Becoming IX partners here in Peru. Awesome. Hey, I really like the IX Systems. Great. We're an IX Systems partner. I just use OpenZFS on Ubuntu, installed cockpit modules when not using CLI. There's probably more manual than TrueNAS. Yeah, I mean, it's not you can't use that. It's just something. It depends. You can run everything from the command line. It depends on whether or not that's what you want to do. But let's swing back over here to talk about this briefly. I'll do a separate video on this. But I I feel I don't know how to express my feelings on this exactly. I mean, everyone's excited. I'm happy that they have OpenVPN server. OpenVPN is a VPN server found in Teleport Junction. They've added OpenVPN server. Let us celebrate the VPN server that's been around for years and years and years to finally making it to UniFi. Like they did everything, but they were just so stubborn about getting around to this. And I'm happy to see that the UniFi applications are finally improving. But I am just so puzzled that it took them so long. Like they tried to do everything different in a way that made no sense to me. And I don't get it. Like it took them so long to just go, oh, I guess that's why all the other open source firewalls and some of the closed source ones and all these companies must build this server in because it must be what people actually want. Yes, it is. It turns out it is what people want. So now we have these as options inside of UniFi. It's just I see it people celebrating that it's finally coming. I'm like, it's been around for years. The UniFi is the only people who didn't think it belonged in a firewall. I don't understand why it took them so long, but I'm happy it's here. So that's my excitement from the people over there. Sorry for the question. With Synology, you might recommend ROS, BackOS, Pop OS when BAM Docker sharing. What might you recommend? It comes down to, I mean, if you're only backing up one machine or two machines, it's not a big deal at all to have what I don't know the models off the top of my head. They have an MVR selector. You tell them what you want to do with it, and they'll help you. Well, they have a whole NAS selector tool, I should say. I said MVR because they have an MVR selector for cameras as well. So, yeah, even the base little 2-bay models, if you don't need to back up all 7 concurrently, also it does not back up Linux well. So if you are getting your hopes up that this analogy will make a great Linux backup machine, I'm sorry, it will not. It makes a great Windows backup machine. And for Linux, use whatever backup utility you want and use this analogy as a destination. But even the basic 2-bay model would probably work for that. So yeah, it doesn't, because they all have the same features. Start with, what's your budget, what's your storage needs. The 2-bay model is nice, but you're only going to get a mirror out of it. So maybe go with a 4-bay model if you want something more than a mirror. And how fast do you need it to be? Yes, backing up Synology to Backblaze. Even if you back it up to the Synology C2, that's actually pretty reasonably priced. I think the Synology's done a good job of making some of those service offerings. There's a lot of improvements that I'll do a separate video on. I laughed at this one though. I don't know why it took so long to do this, but the reserving 192.168.1.20 for DHCP lease. That's the fallback address for UniFi's, unless you've leased something else at that IP address. So there's actually a lot of cool stuff that's going to be in here. I've already loaded it on our system, so I'll be doing the review of this, and I'll do an updated review of the UniFi Dream machines, because we now have Dream machines, and let me pull one of those up, that actually do what they're supposed to do. Is it this one? I think this is the right one. I gotta log into it real quick. There we go. Ooh. So update queue, we're going to update this in real time. But I will be re-reviewing the UniFi Dream machine here, because my opinion of it has changed because the software finally caught up with it not sucking as much. Yeah, Synology C2 storage is about the same price as Blastpikes. Yeah, Synology's done a really good job of pricing on their C2 server. They want people to use it apparently, and priced it accordingly. They didn't price themselves out of the market on there, which is actually pretty impressive. So hats off Synology for doing that. Ooh, updating. Come on. How fast will it go? Soon. Don't you get like 4 lights or camera Synology surveillance drive? It depends on the model. Each model has a different number that comes with. I think most of them only come with 2. Some come with more, but most come with 2. Not quite the unified disappointment machine anymore. No. I'm actually going to say I can now feel better about doing this, because the common question people would have would be around the VPN server, or lack thereof, I should say. Now, you still don't have tail scale support, but I don't know how necessary that is. Have you done videos about the IX servers? Yes, you can find them on my channel. Synology Drive Client works on Ubuntu for backups. Yes, it's the active backup that doesn't have good Linux support. I don't know that they'll ever solve that problem. I don't think it's high priority. I don't think the demand is there for it. They have some Linux tools that'll work. I use this Synology just as a share on my Linux system, so I'm fine with it. I just don't use their native apps. I just got a UDM Pro, and it's quite nice. I thought the UniFi Protect was still intended only to UniFi cameras, but heavy heroes. No, UniFi Protect is only for UniFi cameras. The problem is storage location C2 backup. I don't like stuff going in the US, and the only other data center is in Germany. Well, that much I can't help you with. So use wherever you are comfortable storing your data. I'm not worried about where I store my data because I encrypt it before I send it. So if it's encrypted before it sends, I don't have to worry about trusting the end where it lands. Cody here saying Ubiquity is really wanting people to use traffic management rules over firewall rules. Well, they finally have surrendered and decided, open VPN server is a good thing to have on a firewall. So who knows what new thing they will try? Like, you ever have someone that just tries really hard to be different instead of just going, we like you for what you're good at, not the stuff you keep doing weird. Someone should maybe tell them that. I don't know. Maybe if they had a hint, like, hey, that thing you keep doing that doesn't always work right, just stick with the thing we like you for, and really focus on making that better. Of note, and let me I laughed at this one too, because technically it didn't go away, but it did go away in the new UI, which was the ability to, where did this go? Um, added an option to move adopted devices to different sites. That's not a new feature. That feature exists in the old UI. It just took a really long time for that feature to come to the new UI. And I didn't understand why they kind of, while they're fluttering around coming up with weird ways to do VPN servers, if they would have just like decided that they wanted to do a new UI, but then actually put all the features in a new UI at once. I mean, I'm not the head of development. I know it's hard to develop things. I've worked projects before, not quite the scale that they're working at, but it's just weird how they do things. It seems very disjointed. So that's the one problem with the way they do things. It's just so odd. Since we're on UniFi, how do I force one IP to a specific MAC address? You DHCP reserve to get that. Is that, or are you asking about how to MAC filter? I guess I may not understand the question. Generally, a DHCP reservation is what you're looking for. It's absolutely stupid. The new UI works for UniFi, leaving big features like moving site is out. Yeah, it's weird how you have to switch back and forth between them. I don't really understand. Like, you'd think if you're going to develop it, so let's go back to another probably larger project, the people over at Zen Orchestra. Like, they have an entire plan. They have an entire plan of how to do a new UI implementation, how they plan to do the migration. They've outlined all of this in detail. Like, they've told you how they're going to do it, and they've been following their design details for each step of the way. That's exactly what we like to see. Like, it's just great. Look, they even are telling you this is how we're going to be doing all our new elements in our new version 6. Like, this is what a roadmap looks like. You share it, you give updates to the community that engages with your product, and the community celebrates their, and become willing testers of your software and such. But UniFi is a mystery box of what's going to happen next. Are we going to create another new UI? And maybe, we don't know. It's not on the roadmap, or is on the roadmap. We don't have a roadmap. We just once in a while let you know things are happening. You'd find you start doing things like Dreamwall and update your feature sets faster. Yeah, I don't get the Dreamwall. That's a weird one. So, but that happened. I mean, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. People were asking for a form factor that's weird. So can set Zima board to static IP. So I thought I would do it in router by MAC address, since that does not change. You just do a DHCP reservation in there. I don't have. Well, actually, I do. I'm updating it right now. The only I don't have any systems on this, so I think if I go onto the network here, there's probably no devices. Yeah, there's no devices on here at all. So without any clients connected, I can't show that. But you can look at it. You can specify and then set the IP address of specific devices. If you look up how to do it, I think Cody might even have a video on how to do DHCP reservations in UniFi. A lot of you agree with a lot of dumb, confusing things. Still avoiding UniFi routing. PFSense has spoiled me. Yes, the routing in PFSense is substantially more advanced than UniFi. Fixed IP or DHCP. Do they call it fixed IP in UniFi? I don't like when companies have like new names for things. Like, I don't want a new way to name it. The UniFi is quite different to PFSense, but I'm used to it. Also, make sure you turn off any self-hosted UniFi controllers before trying to adopt new hardware. Yeah, they will fight. I don't know the overall reliability of the Dream Walls. That's going to be like, I think they build a pretty reliable device. Um, but when something be hard to acquire, that makes me also worry about it. Putting it in, like, what if it goes bad? What if I have a problem with it? Actually, see, I've got the new app here. Let's look at the port manager. I think they updated that. What can we do? Okay, egress rate limit. Anything else in here? No. Oh, traffic restriction. There we go. Block traffic or allow traffic. Interesting. So this is one of the new features they added. You can restrict the port by MAC ID. So if you want to lock a port to a specific MAC address, that's why I wasn't sure if you were asking about that, but that is an option you have. Why is this not going away? There we go. They moved the little where to close it button. I hate that my ISP uses CGNAT. Yep. Well, and this is going to be a problem for a lot of people. It's one of the reasons I've talked about Tailscale and overlay networks so much. I use Tailscale. I think Tailscale is great, and I readily recommend it for, especially if you are stuck behind CGNAT. Tailscale is a great way to get in and out of your network when you're, I don't know, traveling down south, and you want to make sure your phone is backing up to your Synology and things like that. Tailscale does a trick for that. Dreamwall only has 1 gig WAN 2. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Dreamwall has a 10 gig on it. So there's 10 gig. We can pull it up real quick, I imagine. Where's it at? Where's all the UniFi stuff I had pulled up? Start closing all this other stuff. Dreamwalls. Are they on the list here? Where is the Dreamwall? Cloud Key and Gateways. There it is. Dreamwall. 10 gig. So yes, 10 gig on that. Tailscale is also an adaptive tier, and even the lowest offers a lot of features. Yes, they do. Yeah, can't beat the features of Tailscale for the free tier. You got your own derp server. That's awesome. Yes, the Tailscale servers that do some of the connecting are called the derp servers. So that is true. You don't like the new site? I'm indifferent on it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's just different. As long as I can click on it and buy stuff, I'm happy. I care that a site is fast and not difficult to find things. So I don't know. Looks good. Looks pretty. It's their switching and their access points that they're still the best for. Like that's still the best thing they make, and I hope they don't mess that up. Did they give up on? I think they did give up on the fluorescent lights. Are they still on here somewhere? I don't. Installation, storage. What are their storage? 8 terabyte unbranded drives. Camera switching identity. The problem I have with a lot of their identity stuff comes back to what I was mentioning about the roadmap. It relies on their cloud. So if you go through something that relies on another third party's cloud, I have to know that I'm going to invest and then have support for some ongoing amount of time. Companies without roadmaps don't give you the confidence. Google being one of the biggest companies out there, and they don't always give us the best confidence in that exact thing. It's one of those problems with any of these businesses is like you become a laughing joke at some point. And Google, of course, killed by Google, Google Graveyard. What's the other one? The Google Cemetery. And it's just all these different companies. They just keep coming up with different silly things. And if you're not going to give us a clear roadmap, and Google's bad about giving a roadmap, but you want some level of guaranteed support. And this is where one of the problems comes in with Google or any of these companies or UniFi. I mean, when it comes to if you're not going to give me a roadmap, how am I supposed to trust your cloud dependent solution? Zero tier works fine. I use zero tier. I was using zero tier. I think that PF Sense integrating with Tailscale, Synology integrating with Tailscale, both of those things made it really easy to look at Tailscale as a good solution. But I don't have any problem with zero tier. I think it's good too. UI lock has disappeared from EA. Interesting. Hmm. Microsoft has a monopoly, so they're able to just be terrible company. Um, it's back to that article I said earlier. We'll pull it up again real quick because why not? As it kind of points out how bad Microsoft is and how they don't care. Because what were you going to do? You know, uh, Windows 11 is so broken that Microsoft can't fix it. Microsoft admits there are Windows 11 problems that just can't fix. Microsoft has made pretty remarkable admission, essentially conceding that it doesn't have a solution for some Windows 11 problems. Um, on Microsoft's help page regarding the issue, Microsoft notes that Windows Search and Universal Search apps might not work as expected, and issues opening in a recent update, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they're breaking things, but what are you going to do? Not use Windows if you're in the enterprise space and that's what all of your clients are running? You can't just drop Linux in some large enterprise businesses or even small businesses. The interdependency they have is too great. As a home user, sure, you can go, Windows sucks, haha, don't use Microsoft. The real world that has to deal with a lot of businesses, like, well, my company does, and all of my team of people, means we have to deal with Windows. And because Microsoft knows they're a monopoly and you can't not deal with them, they don't really spend a lot of time fixing software because they only do it enough, and that's it. And not an inch more. So yeah, yeah, a door lock should last you a long time. We don't like their access cards. Don't work between sites, so we tunnel back one network on one side, access to access small. Interesting. Ah, yes, all the admin portal mess. Yes. Which one has the most security? The one you know how to set up. When in terms of zero tier versus Tailscale versus WireGuard, the one you know, because the one you don't know is one you're going to have a harder time setting up and getting set up securely. The service you'll set up more securely provided you know it better. There's people setting up PF Sense wrong because they don't know it very well. It comes really down to there's not any known flaws in any of the protocols, so it comes down to your knowledge of how you want to configure the network. Office 365 because it doesn't work part of the year. Yeah, Office 364. Recently migrated UniFi controller to Vultr Linux instance per you are in crisscross structures now on 7.3.3. How to keep UniFi releases. If you want to use apt update, I don't. You can add the repository so you can apt update your UniFi application, but I prefer just to uh, grab the file each time. That's my preference, and I just download and run the update. So comes down to how you want to do it. All right. Let's see. Office 357. Yeah. Tom has taught us so many uses of so many things. Just a quick things. I try. I like doing these live streams. Yeah, you can use apt update. I mean, I just don't because I like to manually update it, but that's just because I want to manually update it. I'm not going to say it's like the best way. It's just my preferred way. I also have the system with unattended upgrades on. So because it's doing unattended Linux upgrades in the background, I have it doing that. And then when I want, I implicitly will have it update the UniFi controller software. What's for dinner? It's 10 p.m. at night, so it is past dinner. I ate a burger earlier today. I a lot of times will eat once a day. I don't necessarily need to eat again. But I will share this with some people from my I did unpack a little bit from adventures. It says one of these will be my evening snack. I haven't had this. I don't like peanut butter whiskey, but I have friends that do, so we got that. These are the things I pick out. And of course, this is interesting too. I don't do you consider this a hot sauce? It is a mango habanero wine. Is that a hot sauce? I'm asking. uh I like the Linux Server UniFi container updates. Simply changing the version number and entire install is portable. The problem I have with the container updates is they're not from UniFi. So that means you have now placed your trust in the person who maintains them. I don't know who that person is. I've never looked. I mean, maybe I do know them and I just never looked. But the problem I've had with Docker containers or when you rely on a third party is you've added that third party to your trust circle. Are they a good third party? I know it's a popular repository. Is it got a backdoor that gets slipped in there sometimes? I don't know. I don't trust it, so I don't use it. That's my problem when everyone's like, oh, just use, and they've asked why I don't do videos on the Dockerized one. I'm like, because I don't use it, as I don't know the maintainer of it or how good their security is. Mango habanero wine sounds rough. Yeah, maybe a little. Have I set up apt repository? Not for UniFi. That's what we were talking about earlier. Also, if you're using a Docker container, they'll not offer support. Probably. That sounds typical. Their support's not that great. We get a lot of people hire us, which I'm fine. UniFi, you don't have to worry about support. Just hire us instead. It's that's my solution to UniFi support. Hire my company. The cloud keys are fine too. I think the cloud key, the Gen 1s were rough. The Gen 2s are nice. The Gen 2s have proven to be much more reliable than the Gen 1s. Do you have any insights to protect Sense water, since that's listed on our site that's supposed to come in a 3-pack of sensors? Never seen it become available. That makes 2 of us. So no, I remember them talking about it. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to it. That once again, we don't have a roadmap. when you don't have a roadmap, you don't know when that stuff's ever going to come out or if it's going to come out. So yeah, I can't speak to it at all. Oh, you had one die, Gen 2 Cloud Key die? I don't think we've seen plenty of Gen 1s die. They weren't the greatest. You want to hire us for your home business network? Well, you just head over to lawrencesystems.com, click that hire us button at the top. We are in Detroit, so we are in Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, absolutely. Anyone who wants to hire us, it's really weird the number of people that comment. Comments on videos of how do I hire you? I always like, I think that's a weird comment because I say in my videos that we have a website and it's not hard to find my website if you search. And also, the website has a thing. I say click that hires button at the top, and it shows up as a little, bar. It's I out of the 1,700 videos, it's got to be on at least 11 or 1,200 of them that I've said it. And it's usually on a video that implicitly the comment will come on a video I said of how do I hire you guys? I'm like, go to our website. I get DMs like that too on Discord. And how do I hire you? Well, I don't know. Few issues with the Cloud Key Gen 2, all related to the hard drive failing. Those things get hot, and if you try to run protected 4K cameras, it gets messy. Yeah, that's definitely true. The systems are not really robust enough to run a strong camera system. The matter of fact, the UniFi NVR itself works well, but the NVR packed into a Cloud Key or the UniFi Dream Machine is just not as good. Once you have a bunch of cameras, I mean, if you only a couple cameras, sure, but once you get a few more, not quite as good. Most common home user, I'm assuming you mean question. They're all over the place. There's not a single common home user question. There's many, many. Matter of fact, the questions are more uncommon from home users because when you're getting started, you just have different questions. Some questions may not be worded properly, but me and my team have become good at reading some of those questions, including in the forums, because we're trying to figure out what your goal is. And sometimes that might be the question we ask is, what are you trying to do? And they just don't know the right terminology. So we always help people. Oh, you're just asking about setting up this or that to guide people along the way. So videos even have hires. Yeah. Maybe they skipped that part. Probably. Why is it weird comment? Just happen to be sitting in the live stream? Ask a question that popped in my head. Oh, no, not you who thinks it's weird for asking. It's the number of comments that I get where people don't know that we have a website. It's not you I'm saying about it at all. It is the comments that are on my videos that are like, how do I hire you? How do I contact you? Like those are stranger comments that I get. So it's not in any way directed at you. It's just the unusual number of comments that I get that are that. So that's what I think is actually an unusual comment. Maybe people are using a sponsor block if people mark that intro or not. But yeah, either way, you should be able to find the hire us button. I mean, I have on my main YouTube page, my website linked. It's pretty clear, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, and please let me know if I am, that I've in some way obscured the way you would contact us. So definitely, it is, yeah, something I don't know if I'm ever. I wish to make sure I'm being as concise as possible, and I'm always relying on all of you because you're the people I'm trying to be concise to. I'm running 15 cameras in a UDM SC, no problems on the highest setting, motion capture. Okay. I think the SE handle, isn't the SE a little bit faster or does it have the same processor? Verbiage is hard. It is for me. Sometimes I'm just word salading things together. Percentage of home users versus business. Oh, we're probably 90% business. There's not a ton of home users. So it's a majority, most all the work we do as a business is going to be the business customers. Part of it's just pricing. So We aren't cheap, so that it doesn't lend itself to getting as many of the home users in there. So we'll service stuff if people need it, but sometimes the pricing will be, just beyond what some home users may want to pay. I also have an MSP, so I skip that part. Yeah, yeah, skip the hires part. We service, so we got to probably lay it out. So from my MSP perspective, no, we don't do MSP for home users or IT services. But when someone just wants to buy consulting time to set up a network, we'll sell them consulting time to set up a network and consult with them on it. So that's usually how that's going on there. If you were CA, I would hire you. People here want to charge me $250 per drop. Well, guess how much we charge per drop? That's not on 250 per drop is not an unreasonable price. Most of our home clients are the owner or corporate clients. Yeah, I mean we have those clients as well. That we'll do the homes of the people that own the businesses and things like that. Yeah, 250, not unreasonable. That's wiring is in the labor involved. You know what? It's harder. We'll go a step further. It's harder to do residential. Residential's higher than commercial office to do wiring in. Not everybody realizes that, but that's definitely just one of those things. It's harder to get into walls. It's harder to deal with the residential construction for your average home and here in the United States, your standard stick built homes. But in the business world, you're going to have easier access to the walls. You're going to have easier drops because it's usually the drop ceiling. The walls are not necessarily supported, and the drop ceilings are going to be able to pop a tile and just drill a hole, or if it's a non-supporting wall, the wall isn't any much higher than the drop ceiling, so you can just like drill a hole in the header board and drop the wires right down. That makes it a lot easier to go through there and put those wires in. And especially if you have a flat roofed commercial building, the trusses are easy to mount all of your rigging to that holds and supports all the cabling. That is something else on my list I have to do is do some videos on wiring. I actually have, where did it go? Somewhere. But we did some wiring cleanup, and I need to do the videos for this here. So that is some stuff that's going to be coming out soon. I'm going to talk again about how we bid these, how we put these jobs together, some before and after pictures. This is a during picture I took of rewiring. So these would be some more topics that I want to cover a lot more in depth, because there's always some confusion about how to do the cleanups. Cleanups are, definitely. I have a picture here. This is before it was cleaned up. Well, this is partway into the cleanup. So yes. Define drop. We need ladders, equipment. At the end of the day, 250 could be a deal. No, so 250 is just the drop price, not the get us there price. 250 per drop, but there's also setup and cabling and all of the other things related to it that we also charge for. So it's not just doing the drop. That's the drop price, but yeah, there still could be a destination fee and everything else. I want to shake the hand of the guy that hired 18 years ago to install that landline around my house and use Cat 5e to wrap RG11. Yeah. Tech horror stories. Yeah. I do have an older video about drops. I mean, I think before we were charging like 160, 180. It's just increased over time. it's just, and there's even then, that wasn't a final price. That was the price for the drop. There's still all the other price for the setup or setting up the rigging or buying all the, the infrastructure that goes around it too. Like, if you need a patch panel and things like that. Didn't realize you low voltage. Also in the MSP space with some nation clients in the area have been using ink installs, but yeah, hit us up. If you want us to quote one of those jobs, just reach out to us. We can look at it if they're in the Detroit area. Absolutely. Word of mouth is the best advertising. Yes, that is for sure. All right. Well, I'm winding this down. I've been going for an hour and a half. If there seems to be a lot of people on here, I don't mind doing these live streams later. Maybe I should do that. We got pretty good turnout for this. Maybe sometimes I'll do something in the morning, sometimes in the night. Maybe the midday is not the best time to do it. I know next week because I'll be at IT Nation and I'm not flying in until Thursday. Um, the trying to think of what time I'll be in, but I know it'll be a late night vlog. I'm just trying to put all the times in my head. I looked up like this because I'm like, as if there's this virtual calendar above me. There's not. It's me staring off into space on there. If it was for wiring, we don't do residential wiring. That's a no. We don't do that. So if you asked about residential wiring, you would have got a response of we don't do residential wiring. And if you ask us to support something we don't support, like I get a lot of people asking me to set up one-off weird projects that like it's really weird. So we'll get a home user to ask us, oh, I really want help setting up this. And it's just not something we do. Like they're like, oh, I want, they'll find some GitHub project and message us and go, can you help me set this GitHub project up? I'm like, not really. It's outside of our scope of doing that. And yeah. So those are sometimes you get a response from the team like that. But if it's a residential wiring, no, we don't do residential wiring. Happy to catch this. Looking forward to the wiring rehab video. Yes. Yeah, those are always just interesting. This the mess that's made with it and things like that. There's some of it being done. I think I look on the ground because that's where all the extra went. Oh, I'll close that. All right. I don't know if any of the noise came through. Yeah, the Zima board video that's getting. I've been testing it. Yeah, that I got a lot to get done before I go to IT Nation. Once I'm back from IT Nation, I'm back to cranking out videos. So I'm gonna get some rest tonight. Hopefully, make some more videos tomorrow and Saturday, and get all that going. So thank you everyone who joined. Awesome seeing all of you here. I will be doing this for sure on Thursday. Maybe I'll do a Sunday stream. All that fun stuff. In the short term, I have a few other things I'll be doing. In between, I have a UniFi video and I've got a lot of things in the works. It's just a matter of trying to find the time to get them all done. By far the best IT focus on YouTube. Awesome. Thanks to you, I've gotten a ton of XCP migration projects now. That is awesome. I love seeing a lot of people switch over to it. It's just such a solid platform. My company just redid our server room. My team manager bought all new switches from Palo Alto. Palo Alto makes very reliable switches. I don't think you're going wrong there. But hey, thanks everyone for joining. I will see you next week and or sometime within the next 7 days, maybe sooner. All right, thanks.